It is a pretty unsettling thought, but if your doctor harmed another patient or was convicted of a serious crime, would you want to know about it?
California routinely puts doctors on probation for a list of reasons, from sexually abusing patients to overprescribing drugs. And we've discovered most physicians don't have to mention a word about their probation to you, their own patients.
Here's investigative reporter Begat Shaban with more.
Well, when it comes to investigating complaints about potentially dangerous doctors, the state has its own sort of government watchdog called the California Medical Board. But our past reporting revealed serious concerns about how California lets some doctors off the hook, even when their errors might have hurt or even killed a patient. Tonight, we investigate why the state's medical board says you're better off not knowing when your doctor is caught making a deadly mistake.
My sister was dead.
Overcome with pain and anger, Eric Andrus described the loss of his sister Callie while testifying at a recent government hearing at the state capitol.
She too was dead from gross medical errors.
He and a long line of others shared stories of grief over what they described as poor medical care.
My father died, so how was this minor?
Much of the blame focused on a lack of oversight by the California Medical Board, the state agency responsible for investigating complaints about doctors.
After the investigation, I felt like I was a victim again.
The medical board receives more than 8,000 complaints each year. But even when investigators determine a doctor did something wrong, it usually takes more than 900 days after a complaint is filed for those physicians to face any kind of discipline. And nearly all of them continue to practice in the meantime. Could the California Medical Board be doing more to protect patients?
Absolutely.
Senator Jerry Hill of San Mateo chaired the hearing and is now proposing major reforms to boost patient protections and increase transparency at the medical board. That includes a plan to require doctors to tell their patients if they're on probation. That information already gets posted on the medical board's website, but it's up to patients to find it. Of California's more than 110,000 doctors, 609 are on probation. Their offenses include deadly medical errors, drug use, and sexual assault against patients.
And those doctors have historically a 30% recidivism rate.
Disciplinary action.
But the executive director of the medical board, Kim Kirschmeyer, testified that her colleagues on the board, mostly physicians appointed by the governor, believe forcing every doctor to disclose their probation status would do more harm than good.
They didn't want it to interfere with the patient-physician relationship that was happening.
If doctors are worried their relationship with patients could be damaged, isn't the best solution for doctors then to avoid the actions that got them on probation to begin with, rather than just keeping this all secret from patients?
Well, absolutely. And the part that's the most disturbing is that when a doctor goes on probation, they have to notify the hospital they're affiliated with. They have to notify their insurance company. But they don't have to notify the most important part of the healthcare continuum, which is the patient.
Good afternoon.
Just last month, the medical board softened its stance, saying it now supports doctors disclosing their probation status to patients, but only for certain violations. That means doctors could still keep some medical mistakes hidden, even if those errors prove deadly. And the medical board continues to face criticism over how it disciplines doctors.
The system was set up to fail.
Investigator Michelle Vaverka testified that what is supposed to be a team effort between the state's medical board and Attorney General's office hasn't been at all.
We had to investigate these matters and prosecute these matters being in two separate agencies. It has made it very difficult and very cumbersome.
We exposed that breakdown last year when we introduced you to Mario and Ludmilla Guzman. Mario is an avid runner who says a misdiagnosis by his doctor left him a multiple amputee. What are those feelings?
Anger.
The medical board recommended his doctor be disciplined, but the AG's office decided not to pursue the case, citing insufficient evidence.
I wonder, well, what more evidence you need?
The couple also testified at that recent hearing in Sacramento.
I spent months seeing my limbs fall off my body, and the doctor that harmed me has a spotless record.
This summer, state lawmakers will decide how best to restructure the investigations process. to ensure dangerous doctors are prosecuted.
Are you worried the AG's office may have just been taking on the easiest of cases to try?
Well, I think that there's a possibility of that.
Javier Becerra took over as California's Attorney General at the beginning of this year, but declined our repeated requests for an interview. Meanwhile, lawmakers will continue to debate Hill's proposal to reform the medical board, but a final vote on the legislation is still likely months away. With the investigative unit, I'm Bigat Chabam. Back to you.